Let's just react to the whole thing.
I feel like DK is too low.
I don't want to watch the whole tier list. Stop zooming in, bro. Nobody knows how to backdash to evade the axe kick. Yeah, there's a lot of things Seth does, like his V skill, his axe kick, that you can try and bait out, and people haven't reached that mind game yet. So that's why I think a lot of people put Seth higher than he could be. Like, people, I feel like, don't realize that they don't know the matchup yet when they're talking about Seth. But I think because Seth is very easy to learn, so people have learned Seth very quickly. But the problem is that people need more time to learn the matchup. The matchup is not easy to learn. So I think Seth's players just look stronger right now than other people expect of a normal character. I think this makes sense for top 5. I might switch Guile for Zeku, but I'm kind of biased because Guile beats Colleen. But otherwise, this top 5, Akuma, Yuri, and Rashid, Seth, I would definitely put in here. I might switch Zeku and Guile. And I think it makes sense to just have 5 characters up here. Guile, Poison, Bison, Colleen, Kami, G, I think makes sense as well. They're all really good, really strong characters. Guile, I feel like is very consistent, and it's kind of why he's a really solid tournament character. I feel like Poison doesn't really have many bad matchups either. She loses to Kami probably, but not very many other characters. Bison, I don't know who Bison loses to. He's also pretty solid. Colleen has a decent amount of bad matchups. Kami doesn't really have many bad matchups, I think. She has some bad matchups too. So I think like these characters are just super solid. They barely have any bad matchups. These ones have a couple, with the exception of Colleen and G, which are very strong, but their matchup spread is not very good, I think. Bison loses to all 3-frame characters? I wouldn't say all 3-frame characters. It's definitely good to have a 3-frame against Bison, but it doesn't necessarily make the matchup bad. I think people would disagree with putting Laura here, but I think it's a fair place to put it. I think Punk talks about it in his video that Laura, like people say that it's just Idom, but Laura, it's Idom and Laura that make it scary. It can't just be Idom. And if you just look at it, when she activates V-Trigger, most of the characters just can't stop it. And then if you get hit, you lose like 500 life. So pretty cheap. Abigail, pretty cheap too. Very explosive. All of these characters are going to lose some matchups, but overall solid characters. People are also going to disagree with Dawson here, but I think Dawson makes sense. He's really good. Keeps you out really well. He's like the same as Manat, except kind of better at what he does, and then Manat is better at V-triggering you. Yeah, Laura's overhead is so cheap. The fact that you can combo off it, you get free overhead sometimes in V-trigger because you can throw out the fireball. There's unescapable mix-ups here, basically. When Laura has V-trigger and an EX bar, you can't do anything. You have to take the pressure. Yeah, I think a big problem is that there's not really any Dawson players outside of Asia anymore. Like Danka Diaz and Jesse kind of stopped playing. I feel like I don't really see Art play anymore. And I feel like he was never really like a competitor. He just kind of did it on the side. Maybe in season 1 he was, but like recently he hasn't been. But yeah, I agree with all these characters being strong, but not amazing. Like Ibuki, Karen are really good, really solid, but they're not as good as like Colleen is. Art still plays in NLBC every week. I think there's like a difference between like playing, just like competing, but and trying to be the best. Like you can just compete, try and do decent in tournaments, but trying to continuously improve is a different level of commitment, and I feel like he's not that committed. I think I might put Sakura up here. I think Sakura's should be up here. Her walk speed is too good. And her corner pressure and her neutral is actually really good too. So it's like she's a good character. What can you say? I don't know why my follower notifications are not on. Let me try and fix that real quick. Move that here. What else? Yeah, so I mostly agree with its top part. I think maybe Sakura up here, maybe Guile up here. But other than that, really good. Kage, Balrog, Nikali, Cody, Birdie, Vega, Fang, Jury, Armika, Ken. I think this is fair too. These are the characters that are solid. They can definitely beat you, but they kind of have to outplay you. Like they have the tools they need to win, but you have to but they don't have the same cheat factor as up here. Yeah, we'll get to C tier in a bit, but I think all of these characters belong in B tier at least, with the exception of Sakura, which I think should be in A tier. They're all solid characters that are scary, they can win, but they're not cheap like the other characters. Like these characters are solid and cheap. But over here, I think Honda and Zangief should be up here. I'm still scared of those characters. I know I'm biased. I would say Sagat is up here, but I've only played the matchup with Colleen and G. I think he goes even with G, and I think he beats Colleen, so that's why I think Sagat is up here. But I know other people just think Sagat's not great, so I guess it's okay to leave him here. But I think Honda and Zangief I think should go up here. They can get wins. But Lucia, Sagat, Ryu, Ed, Falk, these are the characters that just don't work exactly how they're supposed to, I feel like. Like you kind of see they're solid characters. They have neutral, they have like fireballs. Your game plan is kind of there. Like your game plan is kind of there with them. But all of their normals are not Falk, but Lucia, Ryu, and Ed, their normals just suck. So they just get beaten up in neutral. So they're not solid like the other characters. Like you can play solid with these characters and win, but I feel like Lucia, Ryu, Ed, you gotta take risks. And Falk, she's different. She's like a zoner, but just not as good of a zoner as Dawson and Manat, so she's down here. So I agree with this, but I think Honda and Zangief should be up here because I think they're solid. You were saying Sagat beats Colleen definitely, but IDK about B tier. Yeah, I'm saying Sagat can be down here. but I just personally feel like he's strong because I don't play matchups where he's weak. If they extended Falk's hitbox of stand heavy punch to up her head or in front of her face, she would be A. Yeah, her stand heavy punch is so weird, the hitbox on it. 10 tournament of power fighters? I don't know what that means. Yeah, I think Falk just has some problems. Like, she can whiff punish something with stand fierce into kick, and then it'll whiff. So it's like, why does that happen? I don't know about Gil in D tier, but I just don't know much about the character. I also don't know about Blanca in D tier, but I also don't really know the character. I feel like these could all be in C tier. I don't really think you have to separate them. Yeah, personally, I would combine D and C. I don't feel like there is a big enough divide to have a different tier. Like, I think you can still get wins with these characters. They're not solid. They have problems, but also Lucia, Ryu, Ed, and Falk have problems. So you can put these four. I think they're in the same tier. With these five, I think these two go up here. I think Sakura goes up here. And I think Kyle goes up here. But other than that, I think I pretty much agree with this tier list.